Good morning, everybody. Shrikant, Amit, heartiest congratulations on really the 10 rounds of the NASScom event across the country. I think it must have been really an absolutely fantastic journey, and I truly congratulate you for the last event, really a successful event. But I think, obviously Delhi is a city which is really close to my heart, a city where I've been born and brought up, and thankfully the climatic conditions are much better, and I think it's a really sunny day. But, good morning, everyone, and it's truly a privilege to stand before you at the NASScom National Technology Conference 2024. Amidst a group of dynamic professionals, all of you are professionals from the tech universe, really shaped the future of this country, evolving into different regions, evolving into different scenarios of what is really, the world is looking up to India as a country where really technology is shaping up the future, not just for the urban society, but really for the masses, both in India and across the world. For me, when I look at technology, I think it's just not about really looking at what happens within a closed community of urban cities. For me, coming from this nation, truly, for me, a technology is one that really encompasses the masses, the rural areas, where the society as a whole benefits, not just probably the B2B segment, not just the segment in the urban society. How do you shape the future? How do you really make the lives of people a lot more easier? How do they really start to kind of move ahead in their day-to-day lives with technology shaping up their lives? We're living in a world, we're living in a very VUCA world, and I'll talk about VUCA. And obviously, why I was thinking about this VUCA is because this notion was really powered and articulated by our Honorable Prime Minister at the UN summit. At the UN General Assembly, he talked about the entire VUCA world. He talked about how the world is shaping up and how technology is actually really influencing the VUCA world. His words resonate as a deliberation for all of us to use technology not just as a divider, but as a unifier in our journey of nation building. And for me, I think anything that really helps us in our nation building is really core to my heart, and I think that's what each of us has to aspire to really build up. And I'm sure each one of us are doing, in our own ways, we're all playing a part in that entire society. We live in a world really shaped up by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And what better example in India? Sometimes I really believe that chaos is the one that really thrives us to grow in an Indian society. All of us, if we were staying in a very stable stable economy, probably we wouldn't have the growth that we're having. When you drive down from Noida into this place, you don't know whether it's going to take you 1 hour. Google Maps fail here. Everything fails here. And especially, thankfully we're having it in Aerocity. Had we had it towards Gurgaon, then probably this patch from here to Gurgaon, Google Maps should have shown you 20 minutes. It would have probably taken you 1 hour to get there. So that's the uncertainty that we live in this country, which somehow just resonates with all of us. We've all lived in that. So a little more structured organization probably digresses us from our growth, digresses us from our thoughts, and that is what technology is all about. Today I'd like to address a key challenge. We talk about India's growth story. We talk about the fact that we just got so much of technology all over us. All of us use smartphones. All of us are connected to all the apps in the world. We use the best of the apps. We use the best of the technology. But there is still a massive digital divide in this country. I mean, not everybody has access to what we are really privileged to have. And that's what we will probably need to work as a society, as a government initiative, both in the public sector, the private sector, the startup ecosystem, and the entire community around us as to how do we really build and kind of navigate through that digital divide. And that is what probably some of the elements that I really wanted to bring to the table. How do you make sure that technology really becomes a tool in terms of that connects all the citizens, including those in the underserved and the remote areas? We'll talk a lot during the day about the latest technology. We'll talk about what's happening in innovation. AI obviously is a real buzzword today, and not just the buzzword. It is shaping up our lives. We're using AI knowingly, unknowingly. We're using AI in a lot more areas as a common citizen of this country. But at the same time, AI will bring its own challenges, and I'll probably stretch upon it for a couple of minutes, probably at the end of my presentation. But really, how does it whole shape up? Now, let me take you through a couple of slides in terms of how this is. Who's actually clicking the slides? Do I have a clicker here? Thanks. Okay, if you look at it, you know what this number is? 134 billion. This is really the number of UPI transactions that have happened in 2023. This number has growing by 57% year-on-year basis. I mean, all of us use UPI transactions, all of us are aware of it. But what I wanted to really bring to the table is that 46% of the world's digital transactions are happening in India. 46% of the world digital transactions is happening in India. How have we made sure that really the under-penetrated banking society in India is really getting empowered by using digital transactions? We used to have so many shops, the Kirana stores, which used to actually do a money transfer using intermediaries. All that is gone. We've got such a large volume of transactions happening, but there's still a large population that still remains under-penetrated, and I'll talk about it. I mean, this is the power that has really come up in terms of what's happening from a digital transformation perspective. 146 billion transactions, that's a mammoth exercise, and how we're really penetrating into the underserved society today. Look at this, 371 million. Any idea what the 371 million is? And you know, when I put in the slide yesterday and the number that the government side shows today has actually changed by another million. These are the number of logins, or these are the number of registrants that are there on DigiLocker today. We're a $1.4 billion, we're a 1.4 billion citizens in this country, and we've got 370 million registrants on a DigiLocker today. Can you imagine the power where a cloud platform is helping us store our documents? And what really baffles me is the fact that in spite of the fact that we thought that a DigiLocker was something that was really used in the urban society, with 370 million people registered for DigiLocker clearly means that this number is not just in the urban society, but really has shaped into the rural society. It's really helping us secure our documents, reducing frauds and errors, making sure that accessibility of all these critical documents are available on the cloud platform of the government. And so seamless. You know, sometimes we believe that the government documentation or the government portals may not work. I've never had an instance where a DigiLocker doesn't work. Similarly, I think all of us fly in and out DigiYatra. I mean, nowhere in the world do you have a situation where DigiYatra, where you probably enter, and in India you still, and probably in Delhi, you still scan your boarding pass. If you fly out of tech cities like Bangalore and all, you don't even scan your boarding pass. You enter a most high security zone of the country just by an artificial intelligence through a scanner of your face. I mean, that's the power of AI that's bringing, and it is actually impacting all our common citizens. You don't need to carry your Aadhaar card or your voter ID. You enter into an airport with a breeze, you are inside in the next 10 minutes, in spite of all the rush that's in the airport. I mean, I can tell you there's nowhere else in the world that you'll find such a thing available. I mean, so what I wanted to really bring to the table is how the common man is getting really impacted by some of these things, while we'll obviously talk about what's happening from a tech world perspective. 50 million, this is the last number that I wanted to throw on the table. The Prime Minister started a scheme where he was actually trying to make the world digitally educated. And with that, we've had 50 million people under the Digital Saksharta Abhiyan being already trained by the government, which is a mammoth exercise. You know, with the diversity and with the size of this country, 50 million is still a very, very significant number. And we're talking about the rural population, we're not talking about the urban population. 50 million people have been trained within this country on a Digital Saksharta Abhiyan, the Prime Minister Digital Saksharta Abhiyan. It's clear, which clearly indicates that digital literacy is really breaking down the barriers and opening doors for millions of people across the country. We all may be extremely privileged, but having said that, I think the government and the Honorable Prime Minister's clear vision is really helping us take us to a path which is absolutely unprecedented. You know, we've had, I talked about the fact that we still have an under-penetrated society in terms of banking. We have a rural area, we have the urban society. We still have a large amount of population which stays out of the rural segment. Almost 2/3 of our Indian population still continues to reside in the rural areas. I think that's another place where probably a significant amount of work needs to be done. 43% of the India does not have access to internet today. I mean, that just shows how there is enough room for growth in the telecom companies as well. And also, there's a lot of population that migrates from the rural areas on a day-to-day basis into the urban areas. That also doesn't have access to the internet. So in spite of all the big numbers that I showed to the table, I just wanted to reflect that how much is the potential of growth in this economy in terms of the entire digital access. We've got 16% population which does not have access to internet in the urban areas. Over 40% access does not have in the rural areas. I mean, there's just so much of potential of growth, and there's just so much of work to be done. As citizens, as privileged people, I think we need to realize there's just so much of work to be done to kind of capture that market and see the potential that it will grow into. The other thing is really in terms of technology is obviously paving the bridge. I mean, there's no third party about it. Drones, and you know the government, and here is I wanted to probably touch upon a couple of points. Drones, you know, we believe that drones is something that is still a technology that's coming of age. But if you look at it, the government has rolled out 120 crore PLI, one of the rare countries in the world which has at this evolution phase rolled out 120 crore PLI to actually make drones accessible and manufactured in India. In fact, the government has increased the customs duty on drones to an extent that it is imperative on this community to start to manufacture drones in India. Drones as a service is becoming extremely popular in this country, and we personally believe that this is going to again shape up the future for a wide market in India, whether it is the mining industry, whether it's the agriculture industry, whether it's the rural areas, whether it's the construction of buildings. I mean, this is one place which we'll see a lot of potential happening, and you'll see a lot of startups coming into both from a service perspective, from a manufacturing perspective, from an integration perspective. This is one area that just watch out for. You will see a lot more happening from a drone perspective in this country. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is DeFi, a very, very low profile thing. It's not taken off, but this entire blockchain technology in terms of digital finance will shape the future. I think we just need a little more imperative push from the government. Once this happens, this entire blockchain technology will become another success like the UPI. UPI has been a success. We've seen the Prime Minister taking the UPI to Singapore and other countries. We will see DeFi again, something which will really shape up as to how we will really see it. This is something that I'm very bullish on, and we believe this is again going to shape up the future of this country. SATCOM, you know, there's been a whole debate on SATCOM. We've seen satellites being, launched. We are almost on the verge of seeing allocation of spectrum on SATCOM, and I think this is something that will again change the way we probably serve our rural market. I talked about the fact that there's a large population in the rural areas which is really not penetrated. I think it's a matter of time, probably 3 to 6 months, when we will see SATCOM services officially rolled out in India. Hopefully the government will clear out the spectrum issue by the end of this calendar year itself. And and if you look at all the big telcos in the market, all the hyperscalers in the market, everybody wants to really tap the Indian market from a SATCOM perspective. It will bring in a lot of innovation in terms of technology for handsets. We've seen innovation come in terms of handsets where today probably the bulk of the handsets are really manufactured in India. We'll see the same thing happening in terms of SATCOM. I don't know if how many of you are aware of it or not. Today, 99% of the handsets that each one of us uses are manufactured in India. It may be said that, designed in China or whatever it is. 99% of the handsets sold in India are manufactured in India. And we export $50 billion worth of handsets out of India, which 4 years back, or probably pre-COVID, was a negative $10 billion. We used to import net $10 billion. Today, we are a $50 billion exports of handsets. And I think by 2030, it will be one of the largest exports out of India, staggering to almost $200 billion. That's the power of this country. That's the power of technology and the cheap labor combined with that technological prudence, which is going to really shape the community in India. Okay, this is, I'm not going to spend too much on this slide, but obviously just a precursor to what I wanted to talk for the next 2 minutes is really on artificial intelligence. We've seen a lot of intelligence, and I'm sure during the course of the day we'll talk a lot on artificial intelligence. We'll talk a lot around what's happening in the arena. A lot of startups are coming in AI. We are using AI individually. We are using AI in our organizations in some shape or the other. We will see a lot more, and AI is obviously here as a big revolution. I think the next big thing probably after industrial revolution and computers is AI. And we will continue to see AI will shape us, shape our future. All of us will have to kind of adapt ourselves. Probably the younger generation will adapt themselves too much faster. If you look at our kids, probably, they can't live without AI. They don't understand how they communicate without using an Alexa or without using some of the AI devices available at our homes. But this is something that's really shaping up. But with AI, two slides that I wanted to probably talk about and very interesting. This is a Tesla car, which probably is very popular in the US. You go to the US, you go to the Bay Area, you can actually drive a driverless car. You can actually press a button on your remote and the car comes out of the parking, then you can drive it manually. I've done it myself. You just press the button and the car comes out of your parking slot. The debate that is happening here is, what if this car was going on a road and it was about to get into an accident? Should it save the driver or should it save the pedestrian? There's no right or wrong answer to it. Obviously, the most ideal answer would have been that it should have saved both. But assuming because the speed at which it's going, because of some bug in the system, because of some suddenly malfunctioning, who should it save, the driver or the pedestrian? So I think trustworthy AI, making sure that artificial intelligence is not really hampering our society and making sure that we're really working in the right manner is something that will shape up the future. And you'll see a lot more discussion happening as AI really evolves into this country. How do you make sure that trustworthy AI is something extremely important? On the last thing really I wanted to talk about, some examples here. Maybe I can talk about a couple of systems. UK visas, the United Kingdom started an AI tool to run UK visas. Somebody raised a hue and cry that the AI algorithm was not favoring the black people and it was favoring the white people. And they had to actually shut down the AI tool. So again, technology, we can keep evolving technology and we believe it will remain for the future, but it has a significant impact on all of us. Again, that's something to be care of. Air Canada, maybe the second and the last example. Air Canada used to have, again, an algorithm. An old lady booked a ticket. She was on a bereavement flight from Toronto. And the AI algorithm did not get her a ticket because the AI bot probably understood something else. And then she had to probably spell out a huge amount of money in spite of the fact that the AI algorithm was trained to look at it. Again, because you leave everything to the bot has been not, the AI has not been trained enough. There are huge challenges there, and there was a huge hue and cry in the Western world when this lady was not being able to board a flight from Toronto because the bot did not support her. I mean, those are some of the challenges that we will see around AI, and I'm sure during the course of the day we will discuss some of them around this piece. I think very clearly, I think the last slide, I think very clearly, we will see a lot more happening from a technology perspective. We will see the world coming together, confluencing, and India will definitely shape it for us. But I think something that really we need to ponder on it. All of us use AI in our lives, whether it is for our investments purposes, whether it's for booking tickets. There's an AI that runs on your travel portals. How much reliance can you place on them? How do you make sure that the machine learning is active? Today, I don't know how many of you are aware or not, globally, there's something called a prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is probably the fastest growing engineering today, where apart from AI, you get into prompt engineering systems today. How do you give a prompt to the system to give you the right feedback? I think so a lot more complexities will come in, a lot of ambiguity will shape up a future, but I think that's what we're here to stay, and I'm pretty sure that India will definitely drive the way, and India will definitely spearhead with us. And wish you all the very best for the conference going ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. In case we have any questions, we can take one or two questions. Please raise your hands. My team is going to come to you with the mic.
Hello. So you referred that to the VUCA world, which refers to unpredictable and something that dynamic challenges. So that is refers to volatile, uncertainty, ambiguity, and So what is the measurement that we have to take to just mitigate this for this
So-
uncertainty, ambiguity?
So, there is, I think the only measurement is that, one of the biggest things that the Indian society is, if you look at the tech companies, what we did probably pre-COVID, what we did immediately after the start of the COVID, and what we do today is very, very different. If you look at the tech transformation that happened in the country, has been moved at a really rapid pace. So I think one of the critical aspects today is that in the next probably 5 to 7 years, technology will move at a much, much faster pace than it has probably moved in the last 2 decades. So how do you make sure that you're really innovative at the forefront, making sure that you're not sitting on your laurels, but really looking at how the society needs to be served. Any product that will continue to serve the society will have a lasting impact, and the organizations will tend to grow. The fact is that how do you make sure that you continuously innovation is absolutely key. Even when we look at a consulting firm like Deloitte, I can tell you, I spent 30 years in that organization. What we used to do probably 10 years back and what we're doing today, and what we would do and how we're going to shape up the future over the next 3-4 years is going to be very, very different. So I think what is very important that each one of us as individuals also need to really upskill ourselves and then make sure that our teams are really upskilling themselves, because the world is going to change in the next 5 years constantly. What we're doing today will not be there. Probably 5 years down the road, we will not have a conference like this. We'll probably have some robots coming in and we'll talk about what's happening, and we'll only be discussing some of the big popular use cases on AI. We will not be probably sitting across the boardroom like this. So I think it's about really innovation and really making sure that we are up our curve in terms of technology. And then I'll give you another example. Today India generates almost 25% of the data on cloud. But in spite of all the cloud setup that we've done in India, we only probably have a storage capacity of 2%. I mean, that's another space which is really growing fast. We see so many data centers coming up in India. Obviously, the government has to support it with the huge amount of electricity that is required. Connectivity we've sorted out. There's no more issues in terms of connectivity. Nobody had ever thought that we'll have the best of the data centers coming into India. But we still serve only 2% of the data, in spite of the fact that India generates 24% of the data globally. So I'm saying that innovation, that whole new technology has to really move ahead going forward for us.
Quickly, one more question on the left. Can we quickly go to the gentleman with the mic, please? Ma'am, right here, in the start. Right here. Sorry, if I can request you to kindly rise up, please, for a second. Thank you.
Thank you. As you talked about the prompt engineering, how this prompt engineering is going to impact our society? Would that be in a good or would that be in a bad?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question. Sorry, can you be a little louder?
You talked about the prompt engineering. So how this prompt engineering is going to impact our society?
No, prompt engineering is obviously going to help all our younger population. The fact is, if you move into AI, how do you make sure that the prompts that you give to the engine, the LLM models, etc., is really helping us build up the society? There's no two way about this, that AI will shape the future of India and the world. There is no two ways about it. So prompt engineering is something that there are schools that are offering that piece. There are colleges across the world that are offering it. In fact, I was speaking to 4 students a few days back who really did the masters in prompt engineering. That's where I thought I'll probably bring this up, which is going to help us shape up. So I'm saying you will require such a niche. It's not about somebody building up an LLM model, etc., which is really available on the net free of cost today. It's about making sure that how do you really upskill the team, whether it is in terms of prompt engineering, whether it's in terms of machine learning, whether in terms of building up innovative models around that piece, which will really shape us. So prompt engineering, I can tell you some of the largest colleges in India in the next 5 years will start to offer prompt engineering maybe at an undergraduate level. It will happen because that's the way it will shape up, because you will need people with very, very niche skill sets. Generic skill set will not help. You can be an administrator with a generic skill set, but you will have to bring very niche skill sets to be really keeping up on the ground. And that is something that, to answer the question of the previous gentleman, will help us shape the future of this country.